We go to Ukraine, and Joseph Lindsley reporting. Joe, I want to start by asking you about this report. According to Ukrainian authorities, about 11,000 civilians have been killed and 16,000 others wounded in Ukraine since Russia invaded the country. And I'm sure many Russian soldiers have been killed or injured, but those civilian numbers in Russia are probably nowhere near what they are in Ukraine. I know the Ukrainian First Lady said every time residential buildings are attacked, it hurts anew. And this is unique in wartime to have these civilian casualties and targets, isn't it?
Yeah, Bob, good afternoon from Kharkiv. The first thing with those numbers, I think those numbers are much lower than the reality. For example, we don't know the true extent of the death and destruction in Mariupol, which the Russians have occupied almost since the very beginning of the full-scale invasion. And, they leveled that city. So it's hard to know just how many have been killed there, how many kids have been kidnapped and deported to deep within Russia. And another thing that is unique about this war, you look at the wars throughout human history, Ukraine, except for a few provocative, and not provocative, but a few little pokes of drone attacks, that maybe hit a building in Moscow, but there's no injuries or fatalities, except for a few attacks on bridges connecting Russia to the Crimean Peninsula. There have been no attacks on Russian soil. It's everyday, daily attacks by Russia against Ukraine, and Ukrainians are fighting Russians who are on Ukrainian territory. And so even, here I am in the Kharkiv region, and, I've been here many times, including in villages that are just a mile from Russia. And it's, when you're on the Ukrainian side of that border, at any moment, you can be shelled and killed. If you're on the Russian side, they've been living in peace. I mean, they can hear the sounds of war if they're close to the border, but there are no attacks on civilians at all in Russia. And you think about, compare it to, say, World War II, where we had, there was the Nazi blitz on London, but then, of course, the Allies would, in order to win, responded by actually attacking Germany, and Berlin and Cologne and so many other places. We don't have that. Part of that is, Ukraine does not have the permission, especially from the United States, to sort of, to go for the total victory in that sense. But I think the main part of the story is that Ukrainians are simply working to defend their own territory. They want Russians gone. It's a little bit more complicated than that because, even if Russians, were, back in Russia, the threat, we've seen the evil that they've unleashed. And so, there has to be some resolution to that. And I think that's why, as we look, today is the 22nd of August. In 2 days, it will be Ukrainian Independence Day, August 24th. Whenever there is a major holiday, people do get a little bit apprehensive. So far, the Russians have not used, looking at the past 18 months of this big war, the Russians have not used those holidays in a dramatic way. But nevertheless, there are butterflies leading up to such occasions. And President Zelensky has been on a blitz traveling around Europe. He was in the kingdoms of Sweden, the Netherlands, and Denmark the past few days. He's now either on the way or on the way to or in Greece, and really trying to shore up support among smaller nations. It's as we mentioned yesterday, it's the Netherlands and Denmark that are promising a large number of F-16 fighter jets. They needed the blessing of the United States, but it's not the U.S. that's providing that. It's these smaller countries in Europe where Zelensky's building one-on-one relationships, and perhaps he's trying to shore up support before any new major Russian action. And as we look to the southern front, it's the same story of Ukrainians they're not losing ground, but they're not moving. They're not gaining lots of ground very quickly. It's very methodical, very little bit of progress, mainly because of this the Russian mines, but also because Ukrainians do not have air superiority. But here in the Kharkiv region, not far from here, about 70 miles from here, is the city and region, sort of micro region of Kupiansk. And Russian propaganda has been saying very vigorously the past couple of days that Russians are on the verge of taking Kupiansk. Kupiansk was liberated last fall by the Ukrainians. It had briefly been in Russian hands. And so there's a lot of propaganda that the Russians they're trying to say that they're on the verge of taking back this small city. Ukrainians have been evacuating civilians. That's been ongoing since last week. So the situation is dire there, and there's a lot of conflicting reports. And so I think here we see Zelensky traveling around Europe, jetting around Europe to get every bit of support while Ukraine tries to hold the line. And we look and see, is Russia preparing something next? I had everyone is trying to figure out what's going on, including, of course, a journalist. And a few days ago, last week when I was in Kyiv, some journalists from a station I won't mention, in a country I won't mention, interviewed me. And it was sort of strange. During the interview, they were complaining to me that they couldn't get access. They want to be, in the counteroffensive. And they were not appreciating the fact that Ukrainians do need to have secrecy as the underdog in order to win. And this journalist asked me, she said, do you think that she asked, meaning me, do I think that my neutrality is compromised because I'm here every day? Maybe it'd be good if I left for a while and I could come back and look at this as some impartial scientist. And I said, no, I said, this is as journalists, we have to believe in free speech. And if we don't believe in that, then there's no point in journalism. There's no free speech in Russia. And we do, here in Ukraine, it's still a free society. There's lots of debate. And I think that only by being here every day can I actually, it's up to you all whether you trust my voice, but only by being here every day can I show people what it really is like to be in a country that's struggling for freedom. And it's, as I see, it's the Ukrainians who, Ukrainians do not want to run away from this. I was reading the thoughts of a popular Ukrainian journalist, and he was saying, that this, the Ukraine is becoming, in a sense, a new nation through this time, because the hard times create strong people. The weak people run away and leave. And so you really are surrounded by this incredible energy and spirit here, even as we go into a little bit apprehensively a holiday like what's approaching on August 24th.
Because you're there 24/7, we can really get the true picture of what goes on there. So true. We're grateful for that. Joseph, are you thinking of what it would be like to be able to get away for the weekend and go to Dublin, Ireland to see your alma mater, Notre Dame, play Navy?
Wait, is that happening?
Yes.
This weekend, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Not so far away. Well, I look forward, Notre Dame has long had a partnership with the Ukrainian Catholic University in Lviv. That's how I first heard about Lviv. I was watching a football game, Notre Dame, Michigan, I think, and they had a commercial on NBC about their partnership with the university in Lviv. So maybe one day there will be a Notre Dame Fighting Irish football game here when the Fighting Ukrainians have achieved victory.
Wouldn't that be something? All right, Joseph, we'll talk tomorrow. Thank you, as always.
Thanks always for the Notre Dame updates. Until tomorrow.
Thank you for introducing Ukraine on your social media pages. That's very important that much more people can get more information about the situation here and how everybody can help Ukraine to stay stronger and to save all the world.
Що він сказав?
Well, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?
Come on now. Oh, which side are you on?
На чиїй ти стороні?